back, everybody. When we go through hard times, it might seem like the kids around us are kind of unfazed, right? They're still playing with their toys and laughing like they normally would. But it's important to remember that grief isn't just for grown-ups. Kids feel it deeply too, even if they don't really have the words to express it. And so in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are sitting down with a local author, Dorian Stewart, to talk about what children experience when they do face loss and how we can support their healing with compassion, conversation, and connection. Dorian, sister, welcome to the show. Thank you. This is a big topic, and I'm grateful for it. I first want to intro it by, again, I kind of just referenced it. I think a lot of times people think kids are resilient, right? Or they're unfazed, or they don't understand. They're not really super aware of the situation. What have you seen, though, in your experience, again, to embody that they do experience grief, maybe just in different ways? What are some signs to kind of look out for?
So grief is such a big feeling, especially for someone so small. And it's so important that parents, guardians, teachers, that we're aware and looking at certain signs. So they seem a little withdrawn. They too can be going through the 5 stages of grief in their own particular way. Sometimes they're like, grandpa or whoever the loved one is not here. Or they could be kind of very distant or very matter of fact in regards to grief. And so they are internally struggling with the loss of whatever that may be. And I also want to say that grief can be not just the loss of a loved one. It could be a pet, it can be moving, it could be family dynamics, because grief kind of takes on that loss or missing something or someone. And so it's so important that we as parents, we take the time to actually know our children and know when they seem a little distant. If there's someone that's usually jovial or happy and all of a sudden they're kind of pushed back, or they're kind of sitting in the corner, or there's someone that is talkative or not talkative and begins talking a lot. It's usually kind of saying, this doesn't appear to be like my child, and now I need to kind of dig deeper or find out what's going on.
Yeah, just something different, right? I think so often, again, kids sometimes might seem resilient, but they're smart, right? I think we underestimate that. They're aware. They're so much more observant, right? Because all they got to do is just watch you, right? And so when they know that family dynamic is slightly different, it does impact them. I think, though, another problem, Dorian, I think sometimes parents wonder, how can we talk? Do I talk about it too much? Do we kind of pretend like everything's fine, kind of just moving on? What does that balance look like in the home? You actually have an acronym to help support conversation around the table.
So the acronym is called LIFT. And it's very important that you take the time to listen, and not just with your ears, but with your eyes. So you're noticing and kind of realizing that there might be something different about your child. And we take the time to listen to them, have them talk to you, ask questions. Which is to include them in conversations. Begin, that's why I wrote the books, because it says, well, do you feel like Alex, or do you feel like Skylar, or whatever book you're reading, that ensures for children to say, I guess I am feeling like this. Also recognize their feelings and allow for them that this is a big feeling. Losing someone, feeling different, or feeling sad is a big feeling for a very little body. And so we need to kind of include their feelings. How are you feeling? Let them talk about that. And then also reserve time for them to talk. What's perfect timing for us as parents and adults doesn't mean it's the same perfect timing for our child. And so we need to allow that when they want to talk about the loss or talk about sadness, that we are flexible enough to stop and take that time to allow for them to talk about what they're struggling with. If we tend not to offer that time, they tend to hold it in, and that's what we don't want. We really want them to talk and express, and even if we don't have all the answers, that is fine. It's just that then we either find ways, find books, find support, additional professional help if needed, so that we're not necessarily having them internalize their sadness or their grief.
Yeah, and just giving them the space. I know that you mentioned sometimes we don't have the answer. I think even in adult life, we don't have the answer. Sometimes life is just difficult, and that it is what it is, right? And so teaching that for our children early on. And I love that you said inclusion, making them part of the conversation. I think oftentimes, you might think this is adult conversation and the kids are just gonna play, or here's an iPad at dinner or whatever, but really making them part of that and knowing that, yeah, they're part of your family too, and they likewise have those feelings.
Exactly.
You mentioned the books, and we want to wrap with this because this is so important. Of course, you have a number of great resources.
Yes.
Walk me through just a few of these stories again. Just your work here in the literary world is really powerful.
So Skylar is someone who lost her grandfather, and she is struggling. She goes through the 5 stages of grief, even to the point where she says, God, if you can bring my grandpa back, I will keep my room clean every day. And so that's really something that our children are struggling with, and they're keeping it inside. But again, it took her mom and her dad to realize that, hey, she is struggling right now. Let's bring out some memories. Let's look through albums. Let's look through and remember the good times so that she can also understand that even though he is gone, even though he is dead, that we can still kind of celebrate him in multiple ways. One of the things that I did was for my daughter is I have a keepsake of my daughter with her grandfather inside of the teddy bear. And so it allows for her to remember Pop at all times. And when she's ready to talk, and even though she's 4, it allows for her to be able to still have that conversation.
So wonderful. Dorian, you are so gifted in so many ways. Thank you for coming on. And again, we'll stress all these books are going to be available. We'll have a link to them on tvliving.com. But again, all this on behalf of Dorian Inspires. Dorian, sister, thank you for who you are, what you do, for helping us facilitate that conversation. We hope this is not our last conversation. We'll so hopefully see you back soon. Thank you.
Love to come back.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank
We'll be
you.
right back after the break.